To start with, it'd be great if everybody can introduce themselves. I think that'd be great if you can just do it. Maybe we'll just start with Clément and we'll work our way down.
Yeah, sure. So, hello everyone. Thanks for being here. So, I'm Clément. I'm working at Zama for 5 years, and I'm head of blockchain.
Awesome. I'm Dominik. I'm working with Miden. We use ZK for privacy, but it's not sufficient.
Hello everyone, I'm Nam, a researcher at the PSC from the Ethereum Foundation. Over the year, we have been like a seasoned user of all these kind of technology, ZK, MPC, FHE, and TE.
Hi everyone, I'm Rahul. I'm the head of new projects at Aztec. Been here for 3 years, building on ZK and Core Snarks and all these fun things.
Fantastic. So we have great representation from honestly some of the very leading teams that I think everybody knows about in the space. And to get started, I've prepared some questions. I'm going to let you guys go and take it wherever we decide to. But the first question that I wanted to ask is, where does Ethereum's privacy stack stand today? And which technologies are production ready? And some of the things that I know people wonder about are performance and cost, and what are the use cases and what are the real adoption. But let's start with that. Where does the stack stand today and what's really production ready? And maybe we'll work our way down the line and we'll start mixing it up afterwards. But Rahul, Aztec has had some really exciting announcements this week, so I'll let you kick it off. Yeah.
Thank you. I think I'll first start with the Ethereum ecosystem before I shill my bags. From Ethereum ecosystem, what's production ready right now is we've seen 0xBo, we've seen Railgun that has been live for a few years. That's been quite exciting. It's always nice to see people on production systems. Privacy is something that unfortunately gets talked a lot about. Not much usage, even lesser products. That said, really exciting news from Aztec was 4 days ago, we actually launched on mainnet with 500 sequencers as an L2 on Ethereum. And the way we think about it is it's not really its own blockchain, it's not really its own chain, but rather something that exports all of Ethereum's privacy. So for like next few steps for Aztec is just going to be really productionizing it. I think a lot of people use privacy as an excuse to not give good DevX or have poor toolings. But we're just going to focus on all of that.
Very good. Yeah, and go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I think that we have like clearly seen the deployment of DK system. So that's like pretty much production ready. We also see like deployment of TE system. So that is also production ready. And I believe like soon we'll see mainnet deployment of FHE system as well. So those 3 types of technology are pretty much production ready. They are actually also usage of MPC, but I guess like not as generic as the other 3 cases, which you can see like from encrypted mempool, for example, when you use like threshold crypto system, which is also a form of MPC. Yeah, I guess like the nuance of an MPC system is that you have like this, very difficult to deploy trusted committee that kind of like stop us from bringing it to production. But hopefully someday we also see it because it's also an important building block in terms of Ethereum privacy.
Actually, sorry. World is a great example of an MPC system that's live today. It uses anonymous MPC, 15 million users, I think. So I'd append my answer as that also is a production-ready system.
Yeah, I think you said many of them. I think Aztec is a great example. I would even argue that most of the systems are not yet production ready because most of the systems that we even said, like or talked about, they are still slower than and have a worse UX than what we see normally on a blockchain. And the problem is that even our normal blockchains have a very bad UX and are not used because of that. And so I would say to be really production ready, we need a private system that is also easy to use and at least as good to use as our normal blockchain systems.
Yeah, and I feel like also something really important is that all main technologies are production ready, I would say. Meaning that ZK, is ready for a few years now. I think we all are using it. And also FHE and MPC did amazing progress on the technology, meaning like today we can use this technology for privacy. And then when we talk about like having a full product ready to use, it's slightly different because like you start to design more just than just the technology. You also need to design the product, the usage and everything. And this is where we have like still room for improvement for any technology, any product. And we saw that since we are in a privacy season, like everyone is interested in privacy. This is great. But this is also that something new, and this is like the good opportunity to have feedback and try to bring in more people using the product and probably design better product to be more production ready for that.
Fantastic. I think when people talk about FHE versus ZK, do you feel that there are some misconceptions, and what do you see as the trade-offs? So are there things that you would like to correct for people about misconceptions? And also if the developer is considering, if someone's trying to implement something that's privacy preserving, what do you think are the trade-offs in considering, the different technologies, maybe the use cases, things like that? So Clément, let's let you start on this, and we'll work our way back.
Yeah, I think it's I think all technology bring values for privacies, but I think any technologies is good to help a product in the end. So I think like having the idea of a versus or a fight between technology doesn't make sense in the sense that you want to bring values no matter the technology. Like when you have users, they don't care if it's ZK, FHE, MPC or whatever. They just want privacy and working well. And I think like ZK is great and has been great in the past to verifiability in general. I think he did a lot. FHE is really great to do computation on encrypted stuff, which is great like when you talk about privacy. And MPC was great like when you talk about threshold signatures, threshold decryption, and this kind of thing. So all technology bring values in a different field of what you need to actually build a product for privacy.
I would say there's like this core differentiation between either you want to add privacy to an existing chain, and this is a business decision, right? So if like there is a lot of money on Ethereum already and on Solana, and if you want to add privacy to that, then you need to use FHE or MPC. The problem is these chains, they verify by re-execution. And when you add something super complex to it, you will make it 100x more expensive, either time-wise or money-wise. So if you bring privacy to an existing system, it's more expensive, but you have the leverage of there is already capital. And then FHE, MPC are very good tools. TEE might be very good as well. If you want to rebuild a blockchain and use ZK for privacy, then you have the problem that you launch a completely new chain like Aztec or Miden. And but then you have privacy at the core, and privacy can actually be the cheaper option because these chains don't verify by re-execution. They verify using ZK, and this is just way cheaper, but you don't have the capital at hand. So I think this is the core differentiation you need to make as a new developer. You want to bring privacy to existing systems. There's only MPC, FHE, super expensive, or you want to build something completely new, then you need to attract capital.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah. So I think that, like zero knowledge has been great for many years. But then like the limitation of zero knowledge proof is that you can only kind of like commit and update to your own state. And then, like when you actually want to do computation on, like join data, then like you can actually use either TE, FHE or MPC. But also like ZK is like very, very lightweight compared with other technology. Like for example, FHE is like much more heavier. So I think that we should just like use zero proof whenever possible. And then like you can also like do coordination update in like simple computation. But then when you have to compute like in mass data, then probably you have to change the technology to either T, MPC, or FHE. Yeah, and then also, of course, we shouldn't not just stick to one genetic technology, but we should combine them in order to achieve the best efficiency that we can.
I'll try and say something different. And I may even perchance counter some of your opinions. So I apologize in advance for the spice. I think a lot of systems. So I think the end goal of privacy is neither of our systems. It's neither of these technologies. I think the end goal is differential privacy. Currently, the way all privacy works is you have to come and prove or do certain things. We won't learn anything about you. But it has a huge downside of us not being able to do analytics. But like data is very important when you want to build a good system. You don't want people to come to you. You want to go to where people are. And so like all of these, I look at it as stepping stones. In theory, FHE is strictly more expressive than ZK because ZK just does verifiability. FHE actually does execution. But what you see live today is just confidentiality, which is to say that when you do a transaction, the to, the from, they're all public values, but you can hide some of the arguments, like the amount. It leads a lot of call stack privacy in the modern implementation, right? But these are all stepping stones. Dominik had a very interesting point of view about how if you want privacy in existing systems, you have to use FHE and MPC. Otherwise, ZK is a very good option, correct? Actually, if you forget about ZK for privacy, the only reason Ethereum started building ZK stuff was verifiability, right? Like, and the coolest use case for ZK in my mind is actually not ZK rollups. It's the fact that you can merge multiple ecosystems into one with the best amount of security that is possible today. Like you can verify state proofs of other chains into your chain, so you know you can merge things together. I agree that obviously Miden and Aztec are its own chains, but the reason we are actually using ZK rollups, so not ZK just for privacy, but at the actual settlement layer, is so we can merge into all of the ecosystems today. Sadly, like when I look at even the FHE and MPC systems I see today, like if you look at Zama, you have a confidential token, like the confidential USDC. It's obviously on Ethereum, which is really cool. Like Aztec is not on Ethereum. That's kind of quite bad, in my opinion. But then it's kind of like bridging, right? Like you wrap your USDC into confidential USDC, and then to my limited understanding, you only can use all the other confidential apps. So in some ways, it's its own ecosystems. For me, like ZK is very cool there because you can use all these TEs, MPCs, whatever, for actually really cool privacy. But then you can use ZK to like merge everything together. And that's something I think like ZK VMs can do a really good job at, and we have to keep pushing it forward. We aren't there yet. We need to spend even more money on proper ZK VMs there.
Well, very interesting. I mean, you said a common thing that I know people do say is this idea that FHE is more expensive. I don't know. I think you said more expensive. I can't remember the.
Yeah, more expressive.
Yeah. Oh, expressive. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I didn't know if there was any other comment because we do hear some of these. I know that FHE, I feel, is perhaps the least understood in some ways, and I wonder if you want to make a comment on that, and you have anything to share about some of the progress that you see.
Yeah, sure. So basically, like at Zama, we are working on FHE for more than 5 years now. So this is like clearly the field we are working on. Even today, we are also working with MPC for some part. To have an idea, at start, when we started to work on FHE, FHE was not usable. I mean, like it was very slow. No, you can't do anything. Today, to have like a general idea, like doing a confidential transfer on one GPU to one H100 is 22 milliseconds, meaning that if you want to use one GPU to actually run a DeFi protocol with transfer, you can do something like around 250 TPS of transfer, one GPU. So we realized that FHE is slow. Wow, it was the case. Okay, we agree, but it's not the case anymore. And it's just on GPU. We already have an implementation of FPGA, and in a few years, we will have the same on ASIC. So you can imagine that you can actually run like a lot of use cases, a lot of transfer with just like one GPU, and you can scale. Because like what we are building on Zama from the beginning is to try to like have the possibility to do parallel execution, because this is one huge bottleneck if you think about like Ethereum and any blockchain, because you need to wait the previous transaction to execute the following. But if you manage to have parallel execution, well, you can imagine to not have 250 TPS, but 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, just by multiplying the number of GPU, because everything is in parallel. So this is like the kind of consideration we can have in mind regarding FHE today. This is not the FHE you had like a few years ago. It's different.
Can you explain, because just I don't know, like how do you get integrity with FHE then? Like who does the like how can I trust? Who does the FHE computation?
So at Zama, so we run like a protocol. So the idea is we can't have verifiability. Like we would love to have ZK verifiability of computation. We hope like we have researchers internally at Zama to work on that, to reach that, and we are confident that at some point we manage to reach that. In the meantime, we have a classic consensus, because the computation is deterministic. So you can reach a consensus with multiple coprocessor, like doing the same computation, and you reach a consensus on the computation. And what we are running for mainnet and testnet is to have coprocessor run by a big company. So like this, you can say, okay, this is not like coprocessor running by anyone. This is like trusted company with billion at stake. So meaning that you can be confident that they risk a lot by cheating in computation.
Okay, so that means you would have a blockchain with a few very big servers that do the FHE, and these servers build the blockchain. And this, okay.
Yeah. The a couple things came up in the answers there, and you mentioned TEs. We don't have any TE representative here, but I know that like some of this is orthogonal, right? Like we can be working on technologies and also using TEs, and they preserve. I'm just curious, among those of you working on different technologies, how many of you are using TE, or in the future think you might use TE? I'm just curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to use it now, like for some things, and I know it's not very secure and might not be very private, but I love it because it brings you a quicker go-to-market. And like also, I don't know, and excuse the language, but like especially in the privacy space, we are so much talking about folding X, Y, Z, and like having a new algorithm on Y, whatever. And like this is like it takes 5 years or 7 years to do something, and then we have a perfect private solution. Whereas if you would use a TE, and we have some projects like that might want to use it on Miden, and then you just can do it actually in half a year, and you can test your hypothesis. So you can have a pseudo private product, and even you can test it and see if someone wants to use it, and if not, you can fold whatever with your cryptographers at home, and after 5 years you find out no one wants to use it. And this is actually, so I think a TE is a very good tool to have a quicker go-to-market, and if you really see traction, then you can fold all you want and make it better.
Got it. Any other comments on TEs?
Yeah, so we did several experiments with TE. We did delegated proving like snark generation inside TE, and also like now we're doing some experiment with like running ORAM inside TE. So we kind of like try to did a little bit of investigation into this TE security, and apparently for TE you need to first trust the manufacturer, and second you need to trust the operator of the TE to not play with the TE. But TE is also like this little magic box that if in your whole design there is something that is impractical, you just plug the TE inside, and then you can say that okay, I'll work on MPC or FHE or ZK solution on this box in the future to improve it. So it allows you to quickly understand and like build up a system. But I think like also with TE, we need to work on like detectability if the TE is broken, and then second is like accountability of the broken system, and also work on incident response and recovery. So it's like in a very controlled environment, and we use kind of like traditional security approach to handle that.
Noted.
One thing I'd add is, I think TEs, I'm a huge TE fan. Privacy is a spectrum. I think by default, a lot of us, when we talk about privacy, we always assume, oh, I have to keep my data private forever. But there are a lot of cases where I only want to keep my data private for like 5 seconds or 10 seconds, like a small period of time. Let's call it ephemeral privacy. For that, I don't think there's anything better than a TE. Flashbots historically has done some amazing work about how do we like make sure that traders cannot arbitrage or arbitrage the right way for those like few milliseconds that a transaction stays on the mempool and anyone could have come and done it. Unichain has done some amazing work with TEs on like removing revert protection. So those kinds of privacy, I think TEs is always going to be the best, even if we have our dreams of indistinguishable obfuscation and all these things. The other thing TEs is very good at, to Dominik's point, is actually, if I rephrase it, is also for security. All of us are building very new custom cryptography. We can call it production ready. We can say that we're much cooler than TEs because they're only cryptographic assumptions. But it's brand new code. And the oldest cardinal sin of cryptography was don't write custom cryptography, which is what all of us are doing. TEs are very good as a backup of like security. Like, okay, these are new cryptography systems. Let's use a TE until we're very sure about the audits and the security of such. Until OpenZeppelin finally audits like hundreds of thousand lines of our code. So those are some things I'm quite excited about in the TE world.
Very good. We also touched a little bit on tooling. So at OpenZeppelin, one of our key focuses now is privacy. One of the key areas we're working on is new tooling because privacy introduces, depending on the technology, new tooling needs. Could you say something about kind of what do you see as the state of dev tooling, and what do you think are some key problems that maybe need to be solved? Dominik, I'll let you start on this one.
Tooling is, no, I love it. I love it. I love this topic because I really try to improve it. But tooling is horrible. Like, I don't know with FHE so much, but like at least with CK, like it's like, what the fuck? It gets like you cannot debug that shit. So it's like we really try to, but like when we built our own custom ZK VM, right? So also like Aztec, and like when you want to have like a higher level programming language, then we compile it from Rust to Wasm to our own intermediate representation. Then we reach Miden assembly, and then it reaches the VM, and then like a bug would then be triggered up again. And like for a developer to really know where in his smart contract code, even if it's just 20 lines of code, to really know, here's the error, and that's exactly the error. It's like years of work. So I think like we are working on this since 3 years, and like we have like, I would say okay tooling, but it cannot really compete with what Solidity has, which is like in 8 years. And when you talk to normal people, they would even say Solidity is crap. So like to get tooling in privacy preserving tech is pretty hard because we built everything on our own. And the second problem is also like, it's not really used yet by a lot of people. So the test of time didn't really pass. And most of our tech, we have to write on our own because otherwise it wouldn't work. So like I'm a true believer that we cannot really have privacy on existing blockchains because the blockchains, they are just transparent and they verify by re-execution. So whenever we want to add privacy to it, it will just be freaking expensive. So we have to build new things. New things mean new tooling. The multisig alone, and then I stop. Like we built a multisig with OpenZeppelin, and a private multisig is also a huge project. You wouldn't think about it. Can it just be private, right? But it's not. It's a huge project, and thanks to OpenZeppelin, we might have something, but it is quite some work.
Go ahead, Clément.
Yeah, I think it's. I totally agree. I think it's often something you do as a last thing. Like when you build on a product or on a new protocol, you just want your protocol to work, and you don't consider much the actual use case. And so sometimes it's not the good thing. At Zama, we are pretty happy because like we as Rahul said, that basically we deploy on Ethereum, meaning that everything is in Solidity and you deploy your contract on Ethereum. So we have the compiler, we have everything ready. We don't have to do much on this side. So this is great. Like we don't, so you can use Solidity. But still, like in FHE, our challenge was to reproduce what you would have on chain on Ethereum locally, because when you want to run your test, actually you want to have like the same behavior. So it was our challenge, because obviously FHE is expensive to run, so you can't like expect people to run it locally on their MacBook laptop. It will like if they do addition, it's fine. I mean, like if they do more complicated stuff, it's more an issue. So what we did basically is to just mock everything. Just say, let's try to reproduce what they will have online locally, but just mocking. So like this was something fast, but having like something very similar between what you have online and what you have locally by building mock was a challenge. Clearly, it was the biggest challenge for us. But I think it was the best decision to bring values for developers.
Good. Tooling, I know, Rahul, your Aztec has done amazing work on tooling. What are your comments about the state of it and where it needs to go?
Thank you. I actually think we've done some pretty bad job, so I love the compliment. There are two things I'm thinking about actively. One is protocol debuggability, and the other is privacy sets. Protocol debuggability is somewhat similar to what Dominik actually just said, but in a bit more edge case scenarios. So like, for example, let's say if something gets hacked on your chain. First of all, it's private. How do you know if there was a hack or not? Let's say you found out somehow. How do you know if the hack happened because of the smart contract bug or because of the custom cryptography? How do you know, let's say you figured that out. How do you know which funds got affected? Because everything is just encrypted note hashes. How do you help people who got affected? They can't just, what do they send you? In theory, they should be able to send you their logs. Okay, let's assume a world where the users are okay with leaking their privacy to you just for helping them debug this very bad situation. Ironically, that tooling for how can they send you their logs actually doesn't really exist. A lot of the protocols, I think all of our protocols have viewing keys as a concept. Zcash has had viewing keys since 2015. But the tooling of me sending you my viewing key so you can decrypt all of my logs, that has never existed. That's kind of a funny feature. Then, like, practically your viewing key actually hasn't existed then. These kinds of things are very interesting for me to think about. So not as much dev tooling, but more of like, how do we handle edge case scenarios? What do we do? How do we even respond? The other thing is privacy sets. Let's say we've all built the perfect cryptographic systems. Unfortunately, no amount of cryptography is ever going to save you from the fact that there'll be this one user who interacts with this one contract that emits 15 UTXOs, that destroys 13 nullifiers. It happens at 3 a.m. They emit like 16 different logs. Sure, it's all encrypted, but we all know there's probably only one contract in the whole world that does that. No amount of cryptography is ever going to help you do statistical analysis or like doxing what's happening. Chain Analysis actually 2 years ago did a very cool talk about how they connect two addresses by simply sending dust. They send 0.001 ETH to two addresses, and they found out that almost always these users, these sophisticated users, would combine their dust into one address. Voila. I have now like combined all of your addresses. I kind of know. No amount of cryptography is ever going to save you from that. But it's actually not the user's fault. It's the developer's fault. And it's the protocol's fault. So you don't just you need like an SDK, like an LSP in your compiler that would like scream at you as soon as you write code that could be interpreted as statistical analysis. You also need that same LSP to exist in the wallet. So the wallet can be like, hey, you're on the privacy side of very low. Tornado Cash actually had done a pretty decent job at that in their old website. The only way I have personally found, I'd love to chat with you guys if you had more thoughts on this, is you kind of create your blockchain network, call it private, and then you personally try to dox it. You try to break your own system. You do very adversarial testing. You break it, then you can figure out how actors are going to statistically attack you, and only then can you build the safeguards. It's a very expensive, it's a very long process. But also we all are on like testnets, we're new. So I'm very sure whatever statistical analysis I do right now will not hold 3 years from now. Okay, so we now need to think about upgradability, which might also get affected by all the hacked funds and debuggability. So it's all like the same thing, same tree, basically.
Understood. And do you have any comments on the dev tooling?
Yeah, so actually we have quite limited experience with dev tooling. We did try to improve the Halo 2 API to some certain extent of usability in the past, and we tried to use it to build the ZK EVM. But even with that, it is very difficult to maintain, and we are already like very well aware of zero knowledge technology. Also in terms of tooling, I think it's very difficult to try to have a good direction for tooling, because right now we don't really see what kind of applications that are dominant in the use cases. So when you face with choices of the different schemes, you end up choose the average one, and that put a lot of overhead in the performance of whatever you are building a tooling for.
Do you have any safety measures? Because it could also be a hack that I do not want to report, because I found a hack that I can mint $1 billion or so. Do you have any safety measures to prevent that then?
Do you mean safety measures for governments or at the tooling level?
Yeah, that your bridge doesn't get drained, for example, or exactly. Like that you as a network can say, okay, now a malicious actor minted $1 billion and I can see it, or I can do something against it.
Yeah. The way we have designed our sort of mainnet launch is only thinking about that, actually. So our mainnet launch, currently we're ignition. In a few months, let's say, we'll be at this thing called alpha, where we will have a lot of, so it's a stage 2 rollup, or it's going to be a stage 2 rollup, I should say. So we follow all of the best practices of how do you safeguard and force exits and force inclusions and such. But one of the other things is, because we're a decentralized rollup, we get to do hard forks on L1. So we get to tell the governance get to decide to move to a brand new rollup with maybe, let's say, 0 state. And we can start afresh on that new rollup. Obviously, the old rollup continues to exist, like a normal hard fork does. And those kinds of things in the beginning of the system, when we don't know how these privacy systems will be used at, will give us time to think and learn from it. Because there's no way we can do things now and hope that it's good.
But that also means, if I would not mint $1 billion, but every month $10,000, you would basically never detect it.
Well, you could, depending on what you do with the $10,000. So
I just withdraw it and
yeah, and then there's so we have a lot of these individual bridges with their own checks. Aztec Labs doesn't run a bridge, and also we have a public state to it. So if you ever want to actually do anything with those funds, you can start figuring it out.
So I think what we would all agree is that whether you're using ZK or FHE, you are or MPC, your dev tooling, and by dev tooling also we could talk about wallets and accounts. It introduces new challenges and also new opportunities for mistakes, to put it in a positive sense. And I would just say that this is an area where I hope people will keep an eye on the Open Zeppelin toolkits, because we're working in these areas to make it safer. And also, if you're using AI tooling, like you're developing now with Claude or Cursor or whatever it may be, that you can now use MCPs from Open Zeppelin. Go to mcp.openzeppelin.com, and because our MCPs are deterministic, so they're meant to make it safer in these cases where it really needs to be deterministic. But I do think, as a final topic here and final question, I think following up on what you were just asking about, Dominik, is that not only do we have to worry about safety, but we all maybe dealing with things where we need to deal with regulators and regulations. So I'm interested in a final topic on, and also we may want interoperability, because as we're hearing some of the technologies each have value. So like we recently opens up when we put out this ERC 7984, I think I got the number right, which is confidential non-fungible tokens. We work with you on that one and some of the others. And so I'm interested to talk about standards, interoperability, and what about regulators? Do the regulators need to see some of the, like, hey, you minted $1 million? So we'll go around one last time and let everybody comment, and because we didn't before. And do you want to start on this one? Yeah, would you like to start with, yeah, what are your thoughts about standards and interoperability here? Yeah, and the others comment.
Yeah, so
to regulator.
To share a little bit, recently at the Ethereum Foundation, we also have a small team called Institutional Privacy Task Force, and we talk to different banks and also like different technology providers to try to unblock this like privacy need of Ethereum of institutions for them to actually use Ethereum. And basically all like compliance is a big part, and unfortunately not every regulators like understand like public blockchain and permissionless in what we are building. So they kind of like ask for sort of like permission system, I guess. We need to like work together with them in order to have this part to unblock the institution adoption in this case. Yeah, and also like one big ask, I guess, is even though we are like a proud ecosystem of like privacy in Ethereum, but I guess like when we step outside of the ecosystem, we are still kind of like small and spread thin, and there are a lot of things that we need to work on. Standards, maturity of toolings is like one of the thing that we need to really improve if we want mass adoption.
Very good. Rahul, what are your comments on standards and regulations?
Standards, yes, much needed. Interop. So we all are building, maybe not our own chains, but we're all building our own ecosystems. We are not doing that. Instead, we are going pretty heavy on interop, in a sense such that users can stay on whatever chains and apps they use, and they can use Aztec as a way to get privacy while on those things. Those are only possible with interop. I'm extremely excited by all the work EF is pushing on every L2 and every bridge. Across recently launched a V4 with a ZK VM. I think that's going in the right direction. It's actually super cool because a year ago there was no bridges that use ZK because it's slow. And now you have the most successful, coolest bridge using ZK VM. That's a testament to everything EF pushes for in the ZK land. Takes time, but it really changes things. What was the last thing? Compliance? Regulation?
Yeah, regulation. Yeah.
The big C word. Okay. The way we think about it is it feels very easy to say like, hey, we want to be compliant or regulation friendly. We do this, XYZ. But the reality is every country has very, very different regulation. What could be legal in the UK could be extremely illegal in India, could be in the US. Also, the regulation keeps changing. There is no way I can enshrine an XYZ system. Also, if I'm building a blockchain, which I am, whatever I do affects all of my apps. So now I'm making decisions on behalf of my apps. That's neither very decentralized nor very permissionless. So the way we designed it is it's a fully Turing complete language. We need to still work on a lot of our dev tooling. And the hope is once we get our dev tooling right, people can build whatever compliance they see fit. Some people may be extremely cyberpunk. Aztec was born from a cyberpunk movement. Go ahead and do that. Some people may want to be very friendly to the US jurisdiction. Please go ahead and do it. The point is you should be able to do it. And we've sort of failed ourselves as a job in dev tooling if we haven't let you do that. Then we're also not even Turing complete then. and we're definitely not censorship resistant or decentralized. I think that's very key for, like, if you're private but not censorship resistant, you're not actually private, in my opinion.
Okay. Come on, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, so I think regulation. I think it's a hot topic, and also it includes like many things that you think about, like having the possibility on DeFi to have some regulation, but it includes very quickly like the idea of KYC, and to have the idea to identify people, to know that you are allowed, not allowed, and have this kind of regulation. And I think this is something to have in mind when we develop privacy, and also like where we are developing privacy, meaning that we have many people and companies building their network or using existing one, and now the goal is to have the privacy. So is it like a new features we want to bring on existing network, meaning that for many years we build trust on Ethereum? I think everyone is trusting Ethereum. It's a good network. But should we launch new network, do bridge and everything to bring privacy and try to onboard all the liquidity on this new network to say, hey, came with your coins on our new network, and we will bring like regulation, KYC on this new network, and we drop like existing one. So this is an open question. There is no like good thing, and we'll see in the future. But this is like an open question that how do you bring institutional banks on this on the blockchain if it's just like to have a complex thing, and it's really difficult.
Noted. Dominik, the last word on standards and compliance.
Yeah. Like I actually don't want Kim Jong-un to trade on Miden, to be quite honest. And I think with like ZK, we can find ways to actually stay private and prove, even protocol-wise, that you adhere to certain regulatory rules, whatever that then is. I think there's an ongoing tension between privacy and accountability. And so neither of these values is absolute. And we will always find a middle ground, and it will be always ongoing. And I think we should not build systems that are dogmatic in either direction. And I think with our technology, we can do that, and we should do that if we finally want people to use that.
Very good. So thank you all very much. Very interesting conversations. I hope everybody learned something, and we're really looking forward to all of this work. More and more coming to the users this year, I think, right? So thank you all. Thank you.